Well, the Victorian government is set to establish a new parliamentary integrity watchdog in an effort to stop MPs from behaving badly. Commissioners keeping an eye on members of parliament will pocket up to $1,500 a day.
For more, we're joined by journalists Hildebrand and Sharon Hunt. Joe, first up, the Commission will have the power to investigate all bullying, harassment, sexual harassment and victimisation complaints. Is it a bad sign that we need to stop pollies from behaving badly?
This is something you could honestly set your watch to it. This is what happens when a government says, you know what, we've lost control. We can't control ourselves anymore. We're just going to outsource it to someone else. Tell me, is going around sexually harassing people right or wrong? Well, better establish a commission to regulate it. This is just nuts. It's like Malcolm Turnbull's bonk ban. You know, here's a portfolio that you can manage to run to look after billions and billions of dollars. You've got people's lives and livelihoods at stake, but we don't trust you to know what to do with that thing in your pants. So we're going to put a commissioner here to tell you what. And it is just absolute madness. Like the idea that you would have people who are supposed to be the most elite community representatives who are making decisions that affect all these people's lives, but they're not even trusted or supposed to have the amount of self-control. And the two cases they cited, they've both been shafted from their parties anyway and been put to the backbench. One was an allegation of sexual assault, which is absolutely terrible. Another was someone who is a Green who had an affair. Now, obviously, being a Green should be illegal, but having a consensual affair, like, that's in a completely different category, and yet he's going to have this.
And now we have to pay for this watchdog. So right. As a taxpayer,
use your brains, be decent, and if MPs are behaving badly,
get rid of them. Get rid of them, Sharon.
I think it sounds like Australia's best-paid babysitting job. Like you are having a chaperone. Keep an eye. Are they going to be tucking them in at night, making sure they get home to their wife safely? I don't understand why this can be on two levels. One, exactly what Joe was saying. How can people who are elected, representing the public, not realising what is right and wrong behaviour? And then secondly, that we're going to pay someone to make sure that they're doing what's right. Two layers of wrong here.
Yeah, OK. Let's move on, guys. And there are calls that local councils should face harsher penalties if they drag their feet on approving new housing developments. With many New South Wales applications taking more than a year to process, Sharon, we're right in the middle of a housing crisis. This does not seem right.
It does not seem right at all. You know, all we hear is that we're trying to encourage the supply of housing, and yet the councils, and when you look at which councils they are in well-to-do areas where there are NIMBYs are rife and they don't want development. But I think the thing that was most worrying for me in the report was about how the councils they could see with some of the DAs, I understand there's checks and balances, but they could see with some of the DAs, they were like, that should be approved. But instead of approving it, they would reject it in the hope that it would go to the courts, that the courts would overturn it, knowing full well the courts would overturn it. So then they could go back to their constituents in the area. The council's like, sorry, it wasn't us, it was the courts that decided it.
She's amazing. Just get rid of me and just have...
Is a fine the right way to go? Won't that just lead to higher council rates? What do we think?
Yes, absolutely. And this is exactly what they do as well. And Sharon's completely right. So you have a giant sort of national housing target that has to be met, but of course the federal government doesn't really have control over that. So they say, all right, you states, you do all that. And the states go, right, absolutely, we will. Let's just press go, turbocharge this. And then it gets to the councils and suddenly it just hits a brick wall because the councils, they approve of the housing targets and they approve of the fact that we need more housing and there's a housing crisis. It's just not quite right for that particular area where that particular project is being proposed. But of course, we don't want to reject it. We don't want to actually say we're the ones stopping the housing crisis from being solved. So it would just take so long that eventually maybe the developer will just give up and go somewhere else that happens to be across the road in someone else's local government area. And then we can say, hey, we tried, come on.
Right. Or if the courts say yes, they're the bad guys.
Right.
Not us.
Say,
vote for me, they're the bad guys.
Sorry, guys, we tried to stop it. It was totally non-simpatico, but, you know.
Gee, your council voice was scary.
That's right.
Is that how council sounds?
I went through method.
All right, stick with us, Sharon and Joe, weighing in on the Aussie marriage proposal dividing the internet. Next up.